Hi, thanks for watching. So, on the 15th of January 2019, I and several other people were victims of the terror attack at 14 Riverside Drive, or they do say D2 complex, as some people call it. Um, Needless to say, it was the worst day of my life. Um, so, it started off with me, by my desk when we heard an explosion. And my first thought was that it was either a gas leak or a car bomb. And if it was a gas leak, it would be just a minor inconvenience. If it was a car bomb, then it could be followed by another one once we get outside. So I attempted to use a staircase to go outside, to go down the stairs and go outside. But when I got to the entrance to the building, I noticed that all the people who were going ahead, who went ahead of me, when they get to the door, they'd look left towards the exit of the complex, but instead run in the other direction, further inside the complex. And at the same time, gunshots were ringing through the air. So, I wondered what it was that people were running from, and I got to the door of the building and I contemplated looking outside to find out why people were running away from the exit. But I continued to hear gunshots, so rather than look outside, attempted to go back in. As I was walking in, I walked by several other people trying to make their way down the stairs. I believe I shouted, go back up. And when I got back to our office, to the door of our office on the second floor, I noticed a crowd of people just attempting to push the door open. I distinctly remember somebody trying to scan their thumb on the fingerprint scanner. And all I saw was a hand sticking out of the crowd. But rather than stand around and wait for the door to open, I decided to proceed up one more flight of stairs to the third floor. Now, on the third floor, there's a multinational, and I thought that we would be safe over there because maybe they have a security protocol or they'd be the first to ask for help, and it was a safer place to be. But on reaching the third floor landing, we walked through two glass doors, two clear glass doors that were completely wide open, and into a hall that only had chairs. And I knew that we were in trouble because there was nowhere to hide. And so as we were walking up the stairs, when I got to just before we got to the third floor, I looked outside and I saw one of the attackers walking by the building. He was carrying the biggest gun I've ever seen in my life, and so at that point, I was certain that we were in serious trouble because these people are out to finish us. So when we got to the third floor, I followed the crowd into the hall where we were standing. I started to look for somewhere to hide, and I was very, very worried because it seemed like there was nowhere I could be out of sight. And so we began to hear gunshots a bit closer to us, and suddenly we discovered that there was a room where we could hide. So we all went in, and I recall somebody asking, "Where's the key? Where's the key?" And I thought, my goodness, these people are so confused. They work for a multinational, but they don't even know where anything is. And so somebody said, "I found the key, I found the key." And once we were all inside the room and the door had been locked, we heard gunfire, which seemed only a few meters away from us. And so as soon as we had the gunfire, those of us in the room who hadn't already found a place to hide just began to scramble for a corner or a crevice or a space under a box, behind a box, where we could just stay out of sight. And so, as we were looking for places to hide, I found everybody else seemed to find somewhere to go. I turned behind me and I found a corner where I could lay low, and I went and sat down. Another lady came and joined me, and we stayed quiet for what seemed like an hour. We didn't say anything, we didn't whisper, we didn't move. We're just silent for an hour. And at this time, you really begin to contemplate your life. All there was, the only sound that we could hear was intermittent gunfire and an explosion here and there. But in the midst of all the silence, you really get to think about your life. In the morning when you wake up, you think about whether you have enough money for the day or for the week, for the rest of the month. You begin to think about whether you'll have enough money the coming month. You think about what you're going to wear that day and the next, whether you're going to have clothes to wear the next week. And in a moment, all of that changes, and you realize what's important to you. All that stuff is unimportant as long as you have somewhere to rest, and clothes to wear, and food to eat for the day. That's really what's important. Everything changes, and inevitably you begin to think about those who checked on you and those who didn't. Amongst your friends who know that you work at 14 Riverside Drive. And I think you naturally begin to point an accusatory finger at those people who didn't check on you. You begin to wonder whether they're really your friends. You wonder who your friends are and who your friends aren't. And that distinction, at the same time, gives you a bit of peace, because you know who's your friend and who's not. And so you think about all these things while you're hiding out. And finally, after about 2 hours, we got rescued by the security forces, whom we're very grateful for. Because of their attempts and their success at bringing back security to the complex. And so we were assembled in one corner, and then we were led down in a beeline, one behind the other, to go outside of the building. And they'd stop us every few steps and tell us, and say to those downstairs, hold your fire, hold your fire. So of course we begin to wonder who's downstairs, who's firing, and who's being fired at. We walked a little bit further, and then they asked us to stop again. And then they said there's a grenade downstairs. So we wonder, okay, who threw a grenade? Where's this grenade? Did they just discover it? And so we kept on going, down the stairs, and finally we got to the outside of the building when the sunlight for the first time, and I saw more people than I had ever seen before. At 14 Riverside Drive, lots of police, members of the armed forces, guns everywhere, and all their eyes were just trained on us. And so we continued to walk outside, towards the outside of the complex, and we got to one open area. Suddenly the people in front of me began to run. And I, of course, I wondered why are these people running? Then I heard somebody say sniper. And so I began to wonder, okay, are we going to get killed, during the rescue? The rescue was a harrowing experience in itself. And so I chose to speed walk till we got under a canopy, when we finally knew we were safe. And, it was just such a relief to get into the safe space and to begin to see people whom I worked with and people that I knew. And you're just grateful at that moment for being alive and for life, and just seeing other human beings, regardless who they are. And so every day we continue to pray for those who didn't make it out safely that day. Continue to pray for the country, and we're just grateful to be alive, and to those who help.